The red warning lights bathed the Earth's strategic command center in an ominous glow as Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood motionless before the massive holographic display. His weathered hands clasped behind his back, he watched the alien transmission for what felt like the 100th time since it had arrived 12 hours ago, the message that could mean the end of human civilization beyond Earth. The hologram flickered to life once more, showing the imposing figure of the Hegemony Alliance's lead diplomat. The creature stood nearly 3 meters tall, its reptilian, scales gleaming under harsh alien lighting. Its yellow eyes held no warmth, no compassion, only cold calculation as it delivered humanity's death sentence. Humans of Terra. The alien's voice resonated through the command center speakers, each word carefully chosen to maximize intimidation. Your reckless expansion across the galaxy violates territorial laws that have governed this sector for over 3,000 years. These laws existed long before your primitive species discovered fire, yet you dare to ignore them. Tae-ho's jaw tightened as he listened to the familiar words. Around him, dozens of officers and analysts worked frantically at their stations, but the Admiral's focus remained fixed on the holographic alien. You have been given more patience than you deserve, the diplomat continued, its forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. But that patience has reached its end. You will withdraw all human colonies to your home system within 1 solar cycle. Every human settlement beyond Earth's solar system will be abandoned. This is not a negotiation. This is a final warning. Alien leaned forward, its massive frame filling the display. Refuse, and the Hegemony Alliance will consider humanity a cancer that must be cut out. Your species will face complete extinction. Choose wisely. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Tae-ho finally turned away from the display as footsteps echoed across the polished floor. Defense Minister Park Min-ji approached, her usually composed expression showing cracks of barely contained anger. "They're treating us like children, Admiral," she said, her voice tight with frustration. "Our colonies house over 2 billion people. They're not just military outposts or mining stations. These are entire civilizations we've built from nothing." Tae-ho nodded slowly, his mind already working through the implications. That's exactly what they're counting on. Min-ji, they think we'll panic when we realize the scope of what they're demanding. They expect us to make desperate mistakes. A younger officer approached the pair, his uniform crisp despite the late hour. Colonel Lee Jin-ho, Earth's youngest fleet commander, carried a datapad filled with the latest intelligence reports. His face was grim as he presented the information. "Sir, our scouts report massive fleet movements in 7 different sectors," Jin-ho said, his voice steady, despite the gravity of his words. "The Hegemony isn't bluffing about military action. They're positioning at least 15 battle groups near our outer colonies. Each group has enough firepower to glass an entire world." Tae-ho studied the tactical readouts on Jin-ho's pad, his experienced eyes quickly analyzing the alien fleet positions. The Hegemony's forces were impressive, representing the combined military might of 12 different species. Each ship was larger than humanity's biggest vessels, armed with weapons that could reduce cities to ash in minutes. "They're being very obvious about it," Tae-ho observed, his tone thoughtful, "almost like they want us to see their preparations." "Psychological warfare," Mingi suggested. "They want us to feel overwhelmed before the fighting even starts." "Maybe," Tae-ho replied, but his expression suggested he was considering other possibilities. "Or maybe they're so confident in their superiority that they don't think we pose any real threat." The Admiral walked to the central command table where a 3-dimensional map of human space rotated slowly. Red markers indicated the positions of Hegemony fleets, while blue dots showed human colonies and defensive positions. The disparity was stark. Humanity looked like a small cluster of islands facing a massive ocean of enemies. Sir Jin-ho pressed, "Our current fleet strength is less than 1/3 of what the Hegemony has deployed. If they attack tomorrow, we can't protect all our colonies. We might not be able to protect any of them." Tae-ho was quiet for a long moment, his fingers tracing the edge of the command table. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that made both officers lean forward. "Neither are we," he said quietly, his words barely above a whisper. But they don't know that yet. He turned to face Minji directly. Begin Operation Patience immediately. I want full diplomatic engagement across all hegemony worlds. Send our best negotiators, our most skilled ambassadors. Make it clear that Earth desperately wants peace. Minji's eyes widened slightly. Admiral, surely you don't think diplomacy will work with them. They've already made their position clear. I'm counting on them maintaining that position, Taiho replied with a slight smile that didn't reach his eyes. The longer they believe they hold all the cards, the more time we have. Time for what? Jinho asked. To prepare, Taiho said simply, and our fleet's colonel, they remain on training exercises, standard patrol patterns. Let the hegemony think. We're too weak or too scared to fight. As the meeting dispersed and his officers hurried to implement his orders, Taiho remained alone with the holographic display. The alien diplomat's final words echoed in his mind. Choose wisely. The aliens had made their first critical mistake. They had given humanity time to prepare, time to think, time to plan. They would soon learn that patience was not weakness, and that Earth's response would be far more devastating than they could imagine. Ambassador. Choi Sumin maintained her polite smile as the massive crystal chamber erupted in dismissive laughter. The sound bounced off the walls of the hegemony. Council's meeting hall, a room carved from a single enormous crystal on the alien homeworld of Vorthok. The rainbow reflections from the crystal walls should have been beautiful, but they only served to highlight the contempt in the alien counselor's eyes. Your species learns very slowly, sneered Counselor Vrex, the lead representative of the reptilian Saurian Empire. His scales caught the light as they shimmered with what could only be described as amusement. Perhaps another month of deliberation will help you primitive humans understand reality. Sumin bowed slightly, her diplomatic training keeping her expression neutral despite the insult. Of course, Counselor. We deeply appreciate your patience with our primitive ways of thinking. The other counselors continued their mocking laughter. A spider-like creature from the arachnoid collective clicked its mandibles in what passed for humor among its species. The jellyfish-like representative of the Medusae floated in its containment tank, its tentacles writhing with what Sumin had learned was their version of laughter. This is the 5th proposal Earth has presented, announced Counselor Zeth, a tall, gray-skinned humanoid with large black eyes, each one more desperate than the last. Do you truly believe we will change our minds? Hope is all we have, Sumin replied, her voice carrying just the right amount of pleading. Surely there must be some way to avoid conflict. Our colonies represent the dreams of billions of humans. Dreams that will soon become nightmares, Vrex replied coldly. Return to your world, Ambassador. Tell your leaders that the hegemonies, patience grows thin. What none of the alien counselors could see was the microscopic data recorder hidden within Sumin's diplomatic seal. The tiny device, no larger than a grain of sand, was capturing every word of their conversations, every detail of their military communications that leaked through the chamber's speakers. The aliens were so confident in their superiority that they had grown careless with their security. As Sumin gathered her papers and prepared to leave the chamber, she caught a fragment of conversation between two military advisors. The third, "Fleet will complete deployment in Sector 7 tomorrow," one whispered to the other. "Admiral Krex wants all battle groups in position before the final ultimatum." The information was gold to Earth's intelligence network. Every delay, every rejected proposal, every moment of alien arrogance was giving humanity exactly what it needed most: time and information. Meanwhile, on the distant mining world of Kepler 44, to be. Engineer Han Dongwu wiped sweat from his forehead as he examined another asteroid sample. To any observer, he appeared to be conducting routine research into mining techniques. Looking for new ways to extract valuable minerals from the system's rich asteroid belt, in reality, Han was placing quantum beacons throughout the belt. Each beacon was invisible to alien sensors, appearing as nothing more than natural space debris. But to Earth's stealth fleet, they would provide perfect targeting data when the time came. Han had already planted over 200 beacons, creating a three-dimensional map of the entire system. Another successful survey, he reported to his team, speaking into what appeared to be a standard mining communicator. The ore quality in Sector 12 is excellent, his words were code, confirming that another section of the asteroid belt was ready for Earth's hidden purpose. The aliens monitoring human communications heard only boring technical reports about mining operations. In the swirling storms of a gas giant 3 systems away, Fleet Captain Song Yunho kept his ship steady as it drifted through the planet's outer atmosphere. His official mission was atmospheric research, studying the unique chemical composition of the giant planet's clouds. The hegemony's monitoring stations recorded his ship's activities as routine scientific work. The reality was far different. Yunho's entire battle group was using the dense clouds as perfect cover while they set themselves for a coordinated strike. The gas giant's natural electromagnetic interference made it impossible for alien sensors to detect the human ships. Hiding in the storms. Storm patterns are fascinating, Yunho reported to his crew, his words carrying double meaning. The electrical activity is unlike anything we've seen before. His encrypted communicator crackled to life with Admiral Kim's voice. Status report, Captain. All pieces are in position, sir, Yunho replied quietly. The hegemony still thinks. We're running scared. Their patrol ships pass right by us, without even bothering to scan properly. Good, let them keep thinking that. Admiral Kim's voice carried satisfaction. How much longer do your diplomats need, Suman? From her position on Vorthok, Ambassador Suman's voice joined the conversation. 3 more days should give us complete fleet deployment data, Admiral. They're so confident in their superiority that they're not even bothering to encrypt their military channels anymore. Perfect, Admiral Kim replied. Continue the diplomatic dance. Every hour they spend laughing at us is another hour we gain to prepare. As the secure channel closed, each human operative returned to their role. Suman prepared for another day. Of diplomatic humiliation, Han continued his mining surveys. And Yunho's ship drifted deeper into the gas giant's storms. To the hegemony, humanity appeared weak, desperate, and completely unprepared for war. The aliens had no idea that their own arrogance was becoming their greatest weakness. Every day they delayed, every moment they spent mocking human diplomacy. They were giving Earth exactly what it needed to turn the tables. The waiting game was almost over, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what patience could accomplish. The emergency alarms echoed through the halls of the Terran Council building as representatives from every human world rushed to their seats. President Yoon Hye-jin stood at the central podium, her face pale but determined as she looked out at the packed chamber. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders, and everyone in the room could feel it. My fellow citizens, she began, her voice carrying across the silent chamber and to billions of humans watching across the galaxy. For weeks we have offered peace to the Hegemony Alliance. We have proposed cooperation, compromise, and friendship. We have shown them our willingness to share the galaxy in harmony. Her voice grew harder as she continued. We have been met with mockery, threats, and contempt. Today, they have made their final position clear. On screens throughout human space, in homes and offices, on ships and space stations, the hegemony's latest broadcast began to play. The image of Counselor Vrex filled every display, his reptilian features twisted with cruel satisfaction. His voice boomed with absolute arrogance as he delivered what he clearly believed would be humanity's death sentence. The human infection. Ends now, Vrex declared, his yellow eyes gleaming with malice. Your pathetic attempts at diplomacy have only delayed the inevitable. Your colonies will be cleansed from existence. Your homeworld will be quarantined until your species learns its place in the natural order. The alien counselor leaned forward, his massive frame filling the screen. This is not negotiation. This is not discussion. This is an extermination. Notice, you have 48 hours to begin evacuating your illegal settlements. Any humans found beyond Earth's solar system after that time will be considered hostile combatants and destroyed. The transmission cut to show massive hegemony fleets moving through space, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Do not test. Our resolve, Rex's voice continued over the images. The galaxy has been patient with your species long enough. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in the heavily fortified strategic command bunker. Admiral Kim Tae-ho watched the alien transmission. With an expression of cold satisfaction, around him his staff worked frantically at their stations, but the Admiral remained perfectly calm. And this was the moment he had been waiting for. "Signal received," he said quietly to his communications officer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Activate Phoenix Protocol." The officer's fingers flew across his console, sending out a coded message that would reach every corner of human space. To anyone intercepting the transmission, it would appear to be routine fleet communications. But to the right recipients, it was the signal they had been waiting for. The message traveled faster than light through quantum relays, reaching its intended targets within minutes. On the alien homeworld of Vorthok, Ambassador Suman received the signal in her temporary embassy. Without changing her expression, she activated a hidden transmitter, no larger than a button. The device began broadcasting interference patterns that would gradually jam the planet's orbital defense grid. "Time to earn our pay," she whispered to herself, knowing that within hours, her diplomatic immunity would be meaningless. On the mining world of Kepler-44 to be, engineer Han Dong-woo looked up from his excavation work as his communicator vibrated. With the coded message, around him, dozens of mining charges were positioned throughout the asteroid belt, each one disguised as routine excavation equipment. With a few keystrokes on his tablet, he armed every single charge. Phase 1 complete. He reported to his hidden recorder. "The trap is set." The charges would create a massive debris field that would trap the hegemony fleet in the system, forcing them to fight on humanity's terms rather than their own, in the swirling storms of the gas giant. Captain Song Yunho felt his ship shake. As it began to emerge from the planet's atmosphere, its battle group had been hiding in the clouds for weeks, their ship's hulls now crackling with residual electrical discharge from the planet's violent storms. "All units, this is Hammer 1, he announced over the fleet communication system. "The anvil is set. Prepare for lightning strike." Around him, dozens of human warships began to emerge from the gas giant's clouds like avenging spirits. Their hulls glowed with stored electrical energy. Their weapon systems hummed with deadly purpose. Meanwhile, on a research station orbiting Earth's moon, Dr. Kong Min-soo finished uploading the final lines of code into the hegemony's biological warfare systems. The virus she had created was a masterpiece of programming, designed to turn the aliens' own weapons against them. It had taken months of careful work to infiltrate their systems, but now it was ready. "Upload complete," she reported to her secure terminal. "Their plague ships are now under our control." Back in the council chamber, President Yoon looked directly into the cameras broadcasting her speech across human space. "The hegemony has chosen war over peace. They have chosen hatred over cooperation. They have made their decision, and now humanity will make ours." Admiral Kim stepped forward, his uniform crisp despite the hours of preparation. "Mr. President," he said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty, "diplomacy has failed. Earth's response begins now." The waiting was over. The trap was set. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had never been their diplomacy or their patience. It had been their ability to prepare for war while talking about peace. The hegemony's war fleet stretched across space like a dark cloud of death. Over 3,000 ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the technology of 12 different alien species. For 3 millennia, this combined force had crushed every opponent they faced. Entire civilizations had fallen before their advance, and now they came for humanity with the same cold confidence. Admiral Vex of the Saurian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. The human colonies lay spread before them like helpless prey, his reptilian features twisted into what might have been a smile as he observed the pathetic defensive positions humanity had managed to scrape together. "Begin the cleansing," he ordered his fleet commanders. "Show these primitives what happens when they defy the natural order." The massive alien ships began to accelerate toward their targets, expecting to find scattered human settlements with minimal defenses. Instead, they flew directly into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. Captain Song Yunho watched his tactical display as the hegemony fleet entered the kill zone. His battle group had been hiding in the gas giants. Violent storms for weeks, their ship's hulls now crackling with stored electrical energy. The alien fleet passed directly beneath them, completely unaware of the danger lurking in the clouds above. "All units, this is Hammer 1, Yunho whispered into his communicator. "Target acquired. Execute Thunderstrike." His ships emerged from the gas giant's atmosphere like vengeful spirits rising from the depths of hell. The electrical discharge from their hulls created brilliant arcs of lightning that danced across space. The hegemony sensors, calibrated for normal space warfare, were completely blinded by the electromagnetic interference. "Target their command ships," Yunho shouted to his fleet. "Remember, we hit hard and fast. Human ships, designed for stealth and speed rather than brute force, carved through the hegemony's right flank like daggers through silk. Their weapons, charged with energy from the gas giant storms, tore through alien shields that had never faced such concentrated electromagnetic attacks." Admiral Vex watched in horror as his carefully organized formation began to collapse. "Where did they come from?" he roared at his sensor operators. "How did they get so close without being detected?" Before anyone could answer, the space around the hegemony fleet began to explode. Engineer Han Dongwu's mining charges, planted throughout the asteroid belt over the past months, detonated in a carefully planned sequence. What had appeared to be routine mining operations suddenly revealed their true purpose. The explosions sent massive chunks of rock and metal flying through space, creating a maze of deadly debris. The hegemony fleet, caught in the middle of the chaos, found themselves trapped in a funnel of destruction. Massive ships, built for open space combat, were too large and slow to navigate through the debris field. "We're trapped," Dex's navigation officer reported. "The debris is channeling us into a narrow corridor. Then we fight our way through," Dex snarled. But even as he spoke, he could see the tactical situation deteriorating. The humans had turned the entire star system into a killing ground, and the hegemony was caught in the center of it, on Earth. Admiral Kim Tae-ho watched the battle unfold through real-time transmissions from his hidden surveillance network. His expression remained calm, but his eyes held the cold satisfaction of a master strategist seeing his plans come to fruition. "Phase 2, execute," he ordered quietly. Across the hegemony fleet, Dr. Kang Min-soo's computer virus activated within their biological warfare systems. The virus had been carefully designed to turn the aliens' own plague weapons against them, chips that had been prepared to unleash deadly diseases on human worlds. Suddenly found their own crews dying from the very weapons they had intended to use. "Biological containment breach," screamed the medical officer on Admiral Vex's flagship. "The plague ships are releasing their cargo into their own ventilation systems." Hundreds of hegemony vessels began to drift powerless through space. As their crews succumbed to their own biological weapons, the aliens' confidence in their technological superiority became their downfall, as the very diseases they had perfected consumed them from within. On the alien homeworld of Vorthok, the planetary defense grid flickered and died as Ambassador Su's sabotage finally took effect. The interference patterns she had been broadcasting for hours finally overwhelmed the planet's defensive systems, leaving the world completely vulnerable. Human dropships descended through the undefended atmosphere, like falling stars. Marine Colonel Bang Soo-young stood in the lead transport, checking her weapons one final time as the alien capital city grew larger in the viewports. "Secure the council chambers," she ordered her assault teams over the communication system. "Want every hegemony leader alive for surrender negotiations. No unnecessary casualties, but anyone who resists gets put down hard." The Marines moved through the Crystal City with practiced efficiency, their training and equipment proving superior to the aliens' panicked defense attempts. Within hours, the seat of hegemony power was under human control. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated itself. The hegemony's grand fleet, which had seemed so invincible just hours before, was now scattered wreckage floating in space. Their homeworlds burned as human forces landed on their capitals. The species that had ruled for millennia found themselves facing the same extinction they had planned for humanity. Admiral Vex, his flagship crippled and his fleet destroyed, stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "How?" he whispered. "How did they do this?" The answer was simple: patience, planning, and the willingness to fight dirty when survival was at stake. Humanity had learned that sometimes the best defense was a perfectly executed offense. The great crystal chamber of the Hegemony Council looked nothing like the magnificent hall it had been just days before. The walls that had once gleamed with rainbow light from the single massive crystal were now scarred black with plasma burns. Chunks of the ceiling had collapsed, leaving jagged holes that let in the pale light of Vorthek's alien sun. Smelled of smoke and defeat, Counselor Vrex knelt on the broken floor, his once proud scales now dull and lifeless. Around him, the surviving members of the alien leadership huddled together like frightened children. The reptilian leader who had once sneered at human diplomacy now trembled as he looked up at the human standing before him. Admiral Kim Taiho stood perfectly straight, his uniform somehow still pristine despite the devastation around them. Behind him, Colonel Bang Suyang's Marines maintained perfect formation, their weapons trained on the defeated council members. Not one of them showed any emotion on their faces, but their message was clear. Any movement would be their last. "Please," Vrex whispered, his voice barely audible in the ruined chamber. We surrender. Show mercy to our people." The words came out broken and desperate, nothing like the arrogant declarations he had made just weeks before. The other counselors nodded frantically, their various alien features all showing the same expression of complete defeat. Admiral Kim looked down at the broken alien leader, his face showing no emotion whatsoever. When he spoke, his voice was calm and controlled, but there was something cold in his tone that made the aliens shrink back in fear. "Mercy?" Kim repeated quietly. "That's an interesting word coming from you, Counselor. You offered my species extermination. You called us a cancer that needed to be cut out of the galaxy." Rex's head dropped lower, his scales scraping against the broken crystal floor. "We were wrong," he whispered. "We underestimated your capabilities." "We didn't understand you underestimated nothing," Kim interrupted, his voice cutting through. "The aliens' excuses like a blade simply revealed your true nature. For 3,000 years, you and your alliance have ruled this galaxy through fear and genocide. You've destroyed entire civilizations simply because they were different from you." The Admiral began to pace slowly around the kneeling aliens, his boots clicking against the damaged floor. "How many species have you wiped out? How many worlds have you burned? How many children have you killed simply because their parents dared to resist your rule?" Another counselor, a spider-like creature with several of its limbs missing, tried to speak. "We were maintaining order. The galaxy needed strong leadership. The galaxy needed freedom," Kim said firmly. "But you were too blinded by your own power to see that. And now that power is gone forever." A holographic projector flickered to life in the center of the chamber, showing the image of President Yoon Hejin standing in the Terran Council chambers. Her voice echoed through the ruined hall as she began to read the terms of surrender that would reshape the galaxy. "The Hegemony Alliance will immediately withdraw all military forces to pre-expansion territories," she announced. "All occupied. Worlds will be liberated, and their original inhabitants restored to power. War reparations will be paid to every species you have oppressed over the past 3 millennia. The terms were harsh but fair. The Hegemony would lose most of their territory. Their military would be reduced to a defensive force, and they would spend decades paying for the damage they had caused. But they would survive as a species, which was more mercy than they had ever shown their own enemies." "But the resources, the territory," Vrex protested weakly, his voice cracking with desperation. "Our people need those worlds to survive. Them, our civilization will collapse, will be redistributed to their rightful owners," Kim replied without hesitation. "Your empire dies today, Counselor, but your species may live, if you accept these terms without further argument." The signing ceremony took place in the same chamber where the Hegemony had once mocked human peace offerings. The broken alien leaders pressed their various claws, tentacles, and appendages to the surrender document. End of their galactic empire. As the last counselor signed the document, Admiral Kim stepped forward to deliver his final words. His voice carried across the chamber and was broadcast to every world in the galaxy, ensuring that his message would Be remembered for generations to come. You had months to choose diplomacy, he said, his words echoing off the damaged walls. We offered you peace, cooperation, and compromise. You chose conquest instead. You chose to threaten genocide against an entire species. Kim paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. Remember this moment, all of you? Humanity's greatest weapon was never our ships or our soldiers. It was our patience. We gave you every opportunity for peace, and you chose war. The responsibility for this outcome rests entirely with you. The Admiral turned to leave, then stopped and looked back at the defeated aliens one final time. Perhaps now you'll understand that mercy is not weakness, and patience is not fear. We tried to show you both, but you mistook them for something else entirely. The human fleet departed hegemony space, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. One truth echoed across the stars. Earth had been patient, diplomatic, and merciful right up until the moment their enemies forced them to be otherwise. The galaxy would never make that mistake again,